What's going on, guys? Let me know if you can hear me. If there's any issues before we get started. We'll probably wait a couple minutes to get some people in here first. But today we're gonna do some talk about tires, compounds, mostly indoor. But I mean, I'm gonna touch on the outdoor stuff as well, just because there was a couple things that I found that were kind of interesting at the Thunder Alley round, the Thunder Alley race. So yeah, I'm gonna get started on that, and then we'll get going here in about 2 or 3 minutes. All right, got a couple people in here now. So the main thing I want to talk about this weekend or this day is MC compound, which is a Proline tire or a Proline compound versus S3. So MC is basically what the majority of clay tracks run. It's a little bit harder compound, but soft for indoors. And it's a really good compound. It's easy to work with. It's pretty much going to have grip right away after the tire breaks in. There's not a lot of extra stuff you have to do besides saucing it, and then maybe a little bit of break-in, maybe some sanding, depending on what your track does. Some tracks that go Ocrc, as of late, have been running full slicks, which is over here. These are straight off my e-buggy from round 7 of the Holiday Brawl. And then there's S3, which was an outdoor compound to begin with, but is becoming more of a compound that is used indoors as a slick tire. So with S3s, when you run them indoors, you're pretty much going to run them as slicks. You're not going to wear them in with tread or anything like that. It's going to go mount them straight to slicks, and then you're going to run them that way. But there are a few things that you might want to do before you get your S3s on the track. Between the two tires, the difference is how the car is going to act at the beginning of the race to the end of the race. So for club racing at Ocrc, you can kind of go either way. I don't really feel there's a need to run S3s because the mains aren't long enough, so you're not really heating the tires up for a long period of time. But let's say like a Surf City where they had 10-minute mains, your MC tire is going to get soft and really sticky towards the last, 2 to 3 minutes of the race, which is going to make your car super edgy and harder to drive. So while your car at the beginning is faster, if you don't have a lead or if you need to push the car at the end of the 10 minutes, the MC is going to make the car a lot more difficult to drive. So it's going to be grabby, it's going to be edgy, it's going to catch a lot more corners, you're going to traction roll a lot more. Now, an S3 tire is going to be the opposite. So the S3 is going to be a little bit slower because it needs to build heat into the tire to work properly. So when you have an S3 tire, you're going to have to drive really mellow, really easy, and just kind of keep yourself in the game for the first 3 to 4 minutes. And then the tire is going to continue to get better and better and better. And as the time goes on, as the MC tire starts to wear off and get a little bit harder to drive, your S3 tire is going to pick up that slack and be faster at the end. So really the difference between an MC on clay, the difference between an MC versus an S3 is where do you see yourself needing to push the hardest in your main. If you're going to be someone that charges at the end, the S3 is going to be the way to go. But you have to keep in mind you have to drive softer and a little bit easier. If you are someone that can pull ahead really fast and then drive mellow for the rest of the race, the MC is going to be easier. So it really depends on what style of driving you do, and that's going to decide which tire you should run on an indoor track. Another thing that you could do is if you kind of want something in the middle. It's something that J Concepts just released, I believe. I don't know if they have them for 8 scale or if they're just for 10 scale. But you could run, let's say, like an MC compound tire, which is the softer tire. It's going to be a little harder or a little harder to heat, or it's going to be a little harder to drive at the end of the run because it's going to get a little hotter. is you could take the little sidewall rings they're starting to make, and put them in the sidewall of a softer tire. And in theory, what it should do is give you your forward bite from the softer tire, but eliminate the sidewall roll, which is what causes traction rolls and the tires to become edgy. So if you have a thicker sidewall, it should allow you to run the softer compound to get your forward bite and your grip, and then later on not have to worry about the tire getting too soft and rolling over and causing you a traction roll. So that's another thing that I would like to start working with. I thought about this more so, like it's always been kind of a thought process ever since the JC ones came out, but more so at Thunder Alley this weekend because all were cold. It was like between 45 and 50 degrees by the time the mains were around. I decided to go out on S3 hole shots, which would normally be run when it's hotter because the S3 compound likes heat. But the track was really rough. And there's good enough grip, I'd say, for the harder tire. But the main thing is that the track had a lot of ruts and holes and corners, braking bumps, acceleration bumps. So an M3 or an M4 tire, which you would normally run in a cooler weather, would catch those edges and traction roll and make the car just a little bit more difficult to drive and hold on to for the longer. I think we did a 15-minute main that day, which if we were to go longer, the problem would have got worse. So I ran S3s, and the first, I'd say 3 to 4 minutes were really difficult to drive. But the one thing that it did do, the main thing why is it difficult to drive was because it just didn't have the forward bite to really feel consistent enough to get around the track. But what it was doing is that it wasn't ever catching the bumps. Like there was no real traction roll problems. The car stayed pretty mellow, didn't do the dance or anything coming on the straightaway if he hits a hole and bounce back and forth. It didn't do any of that. And then after the first pit stop, after the tires had some running on them, they were like the lap times improved and it was going a lot faster, still being really easy to drive. So with that, I really want to try the sidewall rings in let's say an M3 tire. So it gets the thick, like a sidewall stiffness of like maybe an S3 or something that feels semi like that. Because a hole shot is a really good tire as far as Proline tires go. And the M3 or the M4 is what you'd want, but you'd want your sidewalls to be thicker. I don't know. This could be something that maybe they could work on. Maybe they do, like tire companies do a thicker outer sidewall. Maybe they could actually probably easily to do a thick sidewall on one side and a regular sidewall on the other, and you can flip the tire as long as it's not directional tires, so like a hole shot. So you could have maybe like an M3 with a thick sidewall for a little bit better give through ruts and bumps. And then you can have the regular side so that it's a normal tire. And if the track's a bit smoother or if you want that extra grip, you can still have it. That might be something that Proline or any of those guys can start doing because I think that would be something that helps a lot. Because the main thing is just keeping the sidewall, like for ruts and bumps, the main thing is just keeping the sidewall from flexing and having the pins grab the dirt a little too early. And that's kind of what causes the problems for traction rolling. But if you can kind of fix that, then I think that'd be a pretty solid idea. So I'm going to start trying the rings in my tires. These aren't mounted completely yet, the back sides of them. So I may try them since these are the softer MC compounds. I may try putting I'm going to try and 3D print some rings and throw them in there and see what they do. So that might be something for you guys to try. Some cool ideas. Let's see. We don't have really any questions right now. Welcome to our live chat. Remember to guard your privacy. Yeah. Okay. Is there any other questions about tires? Kind of gave a little bit of a spiel about that and then kind of getting things going there. Oh, Caitlin's home.
Hello.
Caitlin's saying hi. But yeah, off the topic of tires, what's your clutch bell bolts made of? Sorry for the off-topic question. The clutch bell bolts are just stainless steel. They're just a little 5.5 hex nut stainless steel bolt. Let's see. What are some other things that we saw today?
People were asking about those body wraps.
So Justin had the question about tires. Nuclear equipment. Okay, off question. What pit board is that on your table? I'm looking for a new one. This is just a carbon board from Performance RC, Bryce Beaver's brand, and I believe Brad Niblick. Yeah, it's Performance RC, I believe, is the page. What's up, Kevin? How's it going? How's it up there in Canada? Is it pretty cold? Because it's cold down here. So Chris Van Air asked about, or said, I think you should open up a track. And I think we'll have news on that in the coming weeks, if something is going to happen or not. We are, myself and a couple of friends of mine have gotten together with the city. We've got some things in place, but I don't want to say too much before I know exactly what's going to happen and how everything's going to roll out. But there is a chance that we do have another track here in Huntington Beach. I don't want to say soon, but if it does happen, it'll be fairly soon. Let's see. Nope, that's pretty much it for there. RC Kevin says it's cold, snowy, and COVIDy. That's not very fun. Yeah, we're pretty much just we're going through a windstorm right now. It's been pretty cold today as far as California goes. Let's see, what else can we talk about here? Thunder Alley went pretty good. OCRC Holiday Brawl Round 7 went really well. There's been a little bit of interest on these body wraps, and I want to talk about them a little bit more. So with all of these, with our body wraps thing we're going to do, we're going to start doing them for more bodies. We don't plan on doing custom ones, just because we're not really set up to do that. But what we're going to do is we're going to have preset designs, and then a couple colorways that we can do with each one. It's not going to have all the logos on it. Unfortunately, you're not going to be able to pick the logos. We're just going to have a generic Wally Builds, a couple of versions. And who knows? Maybe if it does take off a little bit more, we will start maybe Visid will offer customizable ones. But for what we're doing, we're just gonna have preset bodies. You can still pick the color. We'll have a couple different colors of each design, so that it can go with like a gray body, a white body, a pink body, whatever kind of color you want to run as your base color, and we'll adjust the wrap colors between each design so that you can kind of have something a little more specialized to you. But they've been holding up really well. I've got a little bit of damage from this last week, but it's little minor ones. Same thing if you had sticker on your car where they kind of get when the wheels rub and stuff. Same kind of issue. But as far as peeling up, this edge isn't peeling up at all, and it's been dragged across the dirt a few times, indoors and outdoors. This section right here wasn't quite a flat section, but it's still staying down. So, for holding up, it's doing pretty well. Here's a nitro one, because this is the one that gets exhaust and stuff all over it every time it goes out. So here's the nitro side. I ran this one a couple times now, and it's still still stuck, no bubbling. Stuff has been pretty solid. Yeah, so it's outdoors. I mean, pretty good shape for the first couple runs, couple weekends on it. So, yeah, pretty solid there. But yeah, that's what our plan is. And then all of our, like, again, I think I've said this before, but all of our signature series cars are going to start coming with bodies probably around, or with the wraps for the bodies, probably around February. We still have to do a couple templates for the other bodies, get stuff dialed in. But what I'd like to do is maybe have an A. We'll do all the Axis bodies from Proline. We're gonna have techno bodies. We'll do a couple truck bodies. I want to test the 10 scale stuff first. I don't know if it's gonna be too heavy, but I think if we do like a lightweight body combined with the wrap, it'll roughly be about the same, maybe a little bit lighter than the stock body in thickness. So if that works out that way, we'll probably do from 10 scale as well. But this is mainly right now for 8 scale, just because the body weight, I mean, it's not too much more. Like, it's really not that heavy. It's actually pretty light for what is covered and how much of it is a sticker and then the paint. But I know how 10 scale people are. They're very picky on how bodies are. So that's something we got to test and make sure that it's going to work before we start designing all these ones and putting all the time in to do it. Aside from that, that's about all I have here. So if you guys have any questions or any other topics you guys want to talk about, I'll be here for a little bit. I mean, I got a little bit more work to do today, but definitely have some time to go ahead and spend here. Thanks, Kevin. Yeah, those bodies, I like them. I like it a lot. And we have a red one that my buddy Dylan was running. And honestly, I think even with the darker colors, it kind of still stands on the back, like on the big track. It was pretty easy to see. Do you have camber links for the NT48 2.0? I don't have them on the website yet, but they can be done. Once I get a second to kind of catch up and I gotta get a bunch of orders out today and tomorrow, and then a couple builds before Christmas. But 2022, I plan by 2022, January 2022, I plan on having a lot of the parts that I have stuff to do to make them, but I want them on the website and I want them to be available before I can offer them. Because right now I'm a little bit behind with a lot of things, and that's why I'm spreading it out. Like I just announced Lewis Flood as our team manager to help take a little bit of the questions and kind of make sure that they're getting answered a lot faster than I can, because I mean, I'm divided between pretty much everything here. And then we're also going to have Caitlin, who will be doing more of basically the same thing, but more so with just the sales. Like, she's going to be the one running our Shopify inbox, which is basically our messaging, the emails, all the Facebook and Instagram messages. She's basically going to be running that from now on. And then I can focus on more of the design work, the building, and then also some of the marketing stuff that we have to do as well. So getting there. We're getting things going, making it a little bit easier to make things happen a little bit faster. I know the biggest hurdle that I have right now is just being quick, like getting quick turnaround times on one builds and orders. But I am making adjustments to try and make it better for everybody. And I think Caitlin and Lewis will be helping tremendously in that situation. And I still have my brother. My brother's going to be doing some of the builds from now on, or back to doing some of the builds. He's been off for a little bit. His schedule didn't quite line up with the shop, basically because I'd be there till about 4, and then I wouldn't want to stay any later than that. So, and he would get off his day job at 4:30. So the shop didn't quite work out. So now that we're back at the house doing things here, he can come over whenever, and that'll work out a lot better, I think. That's another reason why we went back. Also, the biggest reason is because of the potential track that we're going to be working on. So want to come back here, save a bit of money, and if we can get the track going, then we'll have another place to do all our wrenching and our sales. Sup, Poppy? Always good to have you here. But yeah, I think we're going to be doing pretty good in 2022. We have a couple of things that are going to be pretty solid, and I really hope that we get to do this track with Huntington Beach. Yeah, I'm really excited for that. I really hope that we can make that happen and bring an 8-scale track to Huntington Beach and make it a little bit easier, or actually have a place for people to go when it's 105, 106 at all the Inland Empire tracks. So yeah, I think that'll be something cool, and we're going to continue to work on it and make sure that we have everything ready to go from when the city asks for it, and see what we can do.
Mm-hmm. You can let everybody know I'm blowing tires for DNC if you want.
Caitlin wanted everyone to know that for DNC and Silver State, probably.
Yeah.
She will be offering their tire gluing service. Pretty much going to keep it the same as last year. If you want, you can send in your tires before the race so that they're mounted and ready to go by the time you get there. Or you can bring them to our pit area, which would be the trailer and the canopy and everything at the race. And basically, it's $20 a set. You bring your wheels and tires to us, mount them up for you. We can, if you want the holes punched in the tire on the side or the center, we do that, whatever you want to do. If you want basically, if you want the foam glued to the wheels, we can do that as well. That's more of it's going to depend more on the track and if it's how the dirt gets. But knowing the dirt the way that it's been the last couple of times at Paris, it's probably not going to be needed, mainly because the support or the grip doesn't get high enough, and then you don't really need that extra support in there. Jose, yep, yeah, I can't wait. I hope it's something that we get to do, and hopefully spend a little bit more time around Nitro and get on pace with everybody and be able to battle it out on weekends. Just checked out the website, been out of the hobby and just re-entered, and it sure is advanced. I enjoy the content and knowledge you share. Cool, man. Thanks, Bobby. Did you, by chance, happen to be at OCR? Are you racing at OCRC? Name looked familiar. I think you were. Yep. Yeah, you were. Knew that name looked familiar. As far as any setup advice goes, if you guys have any questions, whether it's indoor, outdoor, nitro, or electric, go ahead and pass them this way. I'll go ahead and answer them for you to the best that I can. Let's see. I don't think there's too much that I have left to go over, though. I mean, last week we kind of covered a lot of the stuff, so go ahead and sit here for a couple more minutes. But if it's kind of dying down a little bit, we're going to go ahead and pull off, and then we get back to work on other things. But yeah, just let me know. Oh, here we go. Got a couple more questions. How do you set up your race trims with your radio? So for all the radio stuff, check back at the last episode. I went over all the cool settings that you can use in M17, and that will be the way. That'll be a big help, I believe, to anyone looking to get their radio settings adjusted. Yes, I was there Sunday. Came down the run before it's gone. I had a blast just running truck. Been about the last year I've gotten back into it all. All right, so awesome. That's really cool. You're gonna be there for the final one, or it was just kind of making it to that last one? And are you running? Where will you be running after OC closes? Oh, here's one that I missed. Let's see. Maybe some tips, things to expect for beginner, intermediate racers who will be transitioning from indoor 10 scale to outdoor 8 scale. Simply put, how do you transition from OCRC to outdoor like hot rod? I think okay. So there's a couple of things that you're gonna want to do because they are quite a bit different. So with OCRC, you're going to be more used to mounting tires, sanding them down, and really staying the car to be fast through corners. I think the thing that you're going to want to do first when you go make your first move to outdoors is set your car up so that it's easy to drive. OCRC, the track doesn't change much. It might get a little dustier through your main, but that's not what outdoors is going to be like when the track changes. So moving your car to outdoors, don't try to give it a lot of grip, and make it really smooth on the steering. The smoother it is on the steering, the easier it's going to be, and the easier you'll be able to get around the track more consistently. At OC, you kind of want to have cars that are really fast. They have a lot of grip and a lot of steering because the track is relatively smooth, and as long as you stay within the groove, the whole car or on the whole track, it'll be pretty easy if you just drive mellow. With outdoors, though, the track is changing. There's holes that form. There's different ruts that form. Some sections are going to be higher grip than others. Some are going to be a lot looser than others. So you really want a car that's all around, not numb, but you want it to be a lot easier to drive than at an OCRC where you're trying to shoot the car to be really fast. Because that all you gotta do is focus on going really fast. Outdoors, you have to focus on your lines, the track changing, the weather changing. There's a lot more factors that go with outdoor racing because, especially right now, where at Thunder Alley you can have a 40-degree morning, a 75-degree afternoon, and then a 30-degree evening. So all the way through that day, whether your qualifier was at 8 a.m., your second qualifier was at 2 p.m., and your main was at maybe let's just say 8 or 9, your trucks and your car is going to perform different because of the weather changing. And if you're on nitro, your engine will as too. So a good rule of thumb that I've kind of come up with learning when I was with the AE guys was for every 10 degrees the weather changes, you want to change your shock oil 2.5 weight. So let's say your base setup is set at 80 degrees, and you're running 40-35, but it goes to 70 degrees, and then you're going to want to change your shock oil to 37-32. So you're going 2.5 weight different for every 10 degrees that the weather changes. Now you can go too soft using that rule. So you gotta kind of learn and work with your best judgment. I wouldn't with an 8 scale car, I probably wouldn't go any lower than 35 in the rear. Because you still need the support from the car. If it's too soft, it'll be really springy, and then it'll just be really hard to handle because it'll bounce through everything. So to an extent, the 10-degree rule still works, but I would say like only up to 20-degree differences. So let's say it's now you start at 80 and it's now 60. I wouldn't go any lower than I mean, even 32 is a bit too low. So yeah, I mean, it's kind of a hard thing. You just got to kind of feel it out, really, and just kind of know, kind of get like the biggest thing that'll help you a lot is writing down your setups for different tracks and also writing down notes that the track was. So let's say like you went to Thunder on Saturday. Here's a brand new track, and you ran this setup, and the track was smooth. The grip was a little bit loose because it hasn't been worn in yet, and all of those types of things. So you want to write down all those notes and keep track of that. Now, next week you come back again, track's been driven on more. The weather's a little bit different, so you write down the temperature. You write down now it's rough and there's bumps out of every corner. The grip is a little bit higher than it was. So now what you do, now you have two forms of data that'll show you, okay, now I'm going to race on the next Saturday, and they redid the track a little bit, smoothed out a couple of corners. So now you can kind of take your two setup sheets and look at them. Okay, is the track rough? What's the weather like? When the weather was hotter, I ran this. When the weather was colder, I ran this. So you can kind of make educated guesses for your race and then not go out there blind, because I see that a lot at the track. Like people will go, I don't really know what it's going to do. I hope it's better, because they don't have anything written down. They're just kind of taking guesses. But if you have data that you can work from, you can make setup changes that will mean something, and you'll have an idea of what the car is going to do on the track. So you're not going out blind, because, I mean, I've done it before in the past where I go out and I'm like, okay, the track's a little bit rougher. I don't really know where I'm at right now. So I think I'm just going to do this. And then I go out there and I hate the car. It's the hardest thing to drive. And it's just, let's say like 15 to 20 minutes of agony. You're just out there just trying to hold the car on the track. So if you keep all these data, if all this data is available to you and you keep it all in the binder, or if you use the So Dialed app, that will also keep you more organized and more prepared for anything, really. Bobby, I might make it back down, but not a guarantee. I got to run like 10 layouts, I'd say. It was a good boost to get back in the hobby. Okay, well, if we see you Sunday, that's awesome. If not, it was nice meeting you, I guess. I watched some of your races. But yeah, that's kind of the biggest thing. It's just really writing down all your all your setups that you change, and then keeping good notes to make sure that they are, so you have something to look back at when you don't know which direction to go. That's a big thing. That's something that doesn't really need to happen in 10 scale indoor, because the track's pretty much going to be the same. For the most part, the weather is going to stay the same. So that's really the biggest tip that I can give anyone going from indoor to outdoor is just use setup sheets, use the So Dialed app. It's basically running setup sheets, but it's all electronic. So you can kind of save and do whatever you want, and everything's on your phone. But yeah, that's really all you really need to know. The tracks are going to have grip, but it's going to be a different grip than you're used to. To me, it's a more natural feeling grip where you're going to feel pins biting into dirt and pushing the car forward, rather than it just being like a friction, like to where like if basically like a road course to an off-road course, like there's grip, but it's not going to feel like how sticky a road course tire would be. Road course is kind of what I see when you run slicks on clay. And then in clay, when you get in the dust, it goes for a donut. Well, outdoors, it's dust all the way across. So you're not going to really go for donuts. So that kind of helps out a lot. I think with consistency, I think it's a little bit more easier to get used to once you get out there and start doing it. Yes. And the best part about outdoors is you don't have to sand tires, and new tires are better than old tires. I think that makes it a lot easier. Just because it's just easier. You just mount tires, you mount your tires, everything, you just put them on the car and you're good to go. You don't have to sand them down, you don't have to break them in. A fresher set of tires is going to be a lot better than a worn in set of tires. And I mean, tire wear on most tracks these days, like Paris, is almost zero tire wear if you hit it, if it's at night. Thunder Alley, you're still going to get tire wear, especially in the summer. But there's a different tire that you would run in those cases. So, like as far as like a wet track style, you run a whole shot style tire where the pins are a bit smaller and a little bit more spaced out. As the track tends to dry out, but it still has a bit of dust, you would go to what we have here as a convict tire. I can't really see it. So a convict tire basically is for when there's a groove, but there is a little bit of dust. So all the tighter spacing is better for the groove style tracks, but with a little bit of dust, you want those little gaps in there to let the dust go out and maintain grip. If the track tends to get really grooved up and it's really smooth and there's definitely a groove you can see in there, you're going to want to run something called a slide lock. And I don't think I've got one right now. All right, so I do have one. So the slide lock is an even tighter pin. Super small gaps between each pin. But these are really, really good when the track is high bite, but still has a little bit of dust to where you couldn't run like a Polytron or something. I've ran this tire at Channel Islands. I've ran this tire at a lot of the Washington races, the arena races. This tire is really good. I've ran this tire at Thornhill. This tire is really good. It's super consistent. You know what you're going to get out of it when the conditions are right for this tire. And the wear on them is really good. I ran a 30-minute main on M4 versions of this tire, and they come off a track with, I'd say, 60% of the tread left. So this tire is really good for long mains that have a groove. It's going to be a really minimal wear for that period of time. But as far as Southern California tracks, you're really going to stick with in the wintertime at least, you're going to stick with whole shots and maybe convicts, because the tracks tend to get a little bit, since the weather's cooler, the dirt tends to hold water in a bit better. And yeah, I mean, that's kind of how you're going to want to go, because you're not going to get much of a groove. It's going to stay more, it's going to be a little more fluffy. Let's see. Hello from Portugal. How's it going? What's your 2 cents on the move of DR to Mayako? I mean, maybe they have everything figured out. I don't really know too much about it. My opinion on it is that if Ronna believes in it, then it should be okay. I don't know how they're funding him or they're going to pay him, but only time will tell on that one. So, no, I think it'll be pretty cool. I mean, I want to see how good that Mayako buggy can really do. Like I said in previous, I know the car can be pretty good. I just didn't like how things were ran, and it wasn't for me. So I have nothing against the car, nothing against the design of the car, but maybe a little bit difference of idea as far as how business is run. So yeah, I'm interested to see how it is. I think DNC is going to be his first big race here, and we'll see how he does. I mean, comes out swinging and wins, that's pretty impressive. But yeah, we're all going to have to wait and see. But I think what's that tire you were showing? There's two different tires that I have here. One was the slide lock and one was the convict. So we'll do them side by side. So here's your convict tire. See if we can get it in the light a little bit better. Yeah. So convict tire right there. More pin, kind of more like a fugitive style tire. But a little bit different on the pins. And then this is the slide lock tire, which has a lot more pin and less gap. So this is good for when the track starts to groove up and then has a little bit of dust. And this is like when it's really grooved up with minimal dust. And then at the very end, when it's like when the groove's pretty high, like it's a dark groove, the dust is pretty much cleared off of it, then you would go to something like this, which is a positron. So it's kind of like the levels of how the tires work. And then on the other side of the convict, when it's a lot looser, you can go to a hole shot, which would be on this end of the spectrum. And then there's an in-between tire called the Blockade. Now, the Blockade, it tends to have a lot less grip than most tires. It's really big pin tire. It's really good for when tracks are really rough, like maybe a Silver State level rough or a DNC rough. It depends on how the tracks hold up. But that bigger pin really helps you slide through all the holes, all the dirt, or all the ruts. And that really helps drivability and helps with consistency as well. The only problem you're going to notice with that is it's not going to have as much forward bite because you're gaining stability left to right and a little bit easier to drive. You're just not going to have the forward bite that a hole shot or a convict might have. But definitely for DNC, if I was running, well, I'm going to be running. What I will be bringing is probably a lot of M3 hole shots, maybe some S4 hole shots, and then some S3s. I'll try convicts. I'm gonna do some more testing on them. So far, I haven't really preferred them on a loose track because I mean they're for a little bit more grooved up track. So I don't know if I'm gonna bring them with me. I might have a couple sets on hand just to try. Slide locks you probably won't need for DNC. I don't see that track grooving up enough to use them, which would also knock out the positron, obviously. But blockades might be a good one to have. And I think I'm pretty much going to stick with just hole shots. So maybe depending on what the weather's like in February, start with M3s. If it's hotter or a little bit warmer, go to S3s. When the track starts to develop and get a little bit harder, hopefully I can get all my testing done with the sidewall rings to stiffen them up so I can run an M3 with a sidewall ring to give it the side support of an S3. Hopefully, kind of got to figure out how we're going to do that or how that's going to work. But then I would have S3s on hand in case that doesn't work because of what we talked about earlier in the video where you want the S3 because the tire is going to go over the holes a little bit better but continue to provide a little bit more forward bite than a blockade. So there are a lot of different scenarios. It's going to be more so just figuring out what's going to work. And luckily, if you guys are doing DNC and you have time, I'd go start Paris between now and February because you'll be able to get an accurate idea of how the track's going to shape up. Joey does do a lot of track maintenance. He does maintenance the track, so you can kind of get an idea of when the track's gonna be fresh to where it will start to blow out, and you got to get a feel of how rough the track's gonna get, so you're not going into it blind. That's like the biggest key with all this, with all the racing, is trying to get all your data set up so that you're not making blind changes or blind setup ideas. So if you have the time, I'd get out there and start doing some practice for DNC. Myself or my guys and myself will be out there. We'll be doing a lot of testing, mainly on Saturdays with everybody. I'm going to try and be there on Wednesdays. So yeah, it's just going to be trying to figure out what's best, what's going to give us the best result, and what's going to make it the easiest to drive to do to achieve those. That thing with the JQ buggy, was that about money? You went apart with it? No. The JQ buggy was just my car to run in between having no deal and the Mayako thing starting. The problem with the Mayako thing is that, and I've gone over this a couple times now, but we didn't really see eye to eye on a lot of things. And instead of just dealing, since we really hadn't gotten started with anything, after it was about a year, almost a year of being with them before even anything happened. And before that whole happened, I just decided I'm going to get out now. I have other deals that are kind of more worth my time, I think. And that's what happened there. There was never really any money. I mean, I was promised money to be there. I was promised a bunch of things, and it never really happened. And then when I asked for a contract to kind of like protect myself, as well as have an understanding of what he wants me to do for them, there really wasn't any. That wasn't really an option. It just seemed like it was just kind of like you have to just believe in what's going on, and if you don't believe it, you can leave. And that's kind of what happened, and that's how that went. So I don't know. I wish them the best. I don't have really any hard feelings. I'm doing good with what I've got, and it sounds like they're doing good with what they have. So yeah, I think everything's good. I'm sure JQ won't like me much when I see him at DNC, but it's gonna be a thing. Whatever. But it looks like that's going to be it for the day. If you have any more questions on tires or really anything leading up to DNC, or if you guys are attending the TNR race, yeah, if any of those types of races and you guys want questions on tires or setup, be more than happy to help. And then anytime that we're at a race, you can come up to myself, Lewis, Caitlin, any of us will be there and be happy to help you get your car set up and tuned up a little bit. Again, while we do want to help and everything, if we are busy with other, like our team drivers and stuff like that, we're not going to tell you to go away, but we need to get things done and we can help you, but we got to take care of our stuff as well. So, if we do have something going on right then, we will take care of it for you. We'll help you out and we'll offer you help, but it might take maybe a couple minutes. So if you just let us know what you need, we'll get back to you as soon as we can, and try to keep everything running as smoothly as possible. But yeah, just let me know. You gave a lot of exposure on the brand. Yeah, I mean, that's what I was supposed to do. That was my job up until now. But things don't always work out. And I only run Proline. Yeah. Would love to be in the U.S. to be your client. Yeah, I mean, for right now, I'm only running Proline. I have mainly because I'm running with Horizon. Horizon, I have TLR vehicles, Proline tires. Just kind of comes as a little bit of a bundle. Also, Lewis has mentioned on any tire questions you may have, feel free to shoot me a message on any media platform, and I'll be happy to help. Yeah, Lewis Lewis worked with Proline for a while, so he has a really good knowledge of the Proline tire, the compounds. He's gonna be a really big help when deciding what tire to run for each of our qualifiers and our mains. So yes, if you have any questions, feel free to ask Lewis as well. He'll be able to help you with that for sure. But yeah, I'm gonna get back to work. I got some turnbuckle orders to knock out. I got a couple builds to do to start today, and then we'll see you Tuesday.